In the top bunch were running extremely fast in practice and in the heats. And right now, it's a flip of a coin as to whose race it is. Bob Polverari, George Summers, and Reggie Ruggiero. Ronnie Greenwood atop the flag stand from BFI Industries as the honorary Grand Marshal will throw the green flag, and Ron Greenwood looks him over. Dick Brooks checks over the field. Ron Greenwood set to throw the green flag here today at the Thompson International Speedway for the BFI 40. For the NASCAR Modifieds, they head off turn 4. And Ron Greenwood lets him loose. George Summers goes into the lead.
It's the man from Upton, Massachusetts, leading the pack off of turn number 2 and down the backstretch. It's George Summers, Bob Polverari, Kenny Bouchard, Reggie Ruggiero, and Richie Evans. Bentley Warren, Corky Cookman, Ray Miller, in that order as they cross the stripe. One lap shows as George Summers sets the
his head right now. He's got the lead. He has to hold it for 39 more laps, and the pressure must be building here. Ken Bouchard has moved to 3rd. Richie Evans 4th. Reggie Ruggiero has dropped to 5th on the initial start. Bentley Warren is 6th. Corky Cookman has picked up a spot. He's 7th. 8th is Ray Miller in car number 01.
Single file as Richie Evans looks underneath Ken Bouchard going down that back straightaway. Bob Polverari begins to reel in the rear bumper of George Summers in the 21. Summers continues to lead as 3 laps now show up on the scoreboard. It is still the man from Upton, George Summers, leading the pack.
Bouchard, Evans, and Ruggiero are inches apart, running for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And Summers and Polverari have begun to open up a lead. They are running well. Polverari makes a bid down low, but Summers holds him off. The man that's really running very well here, and it's a surprise because it's the first time that that car has gone as well as it is now, it's Bentley Warren. The caution flag is Auto Machine powered Cavalier built by Troyer, and he will pick up at the back of the field. So with 4 laps down, Summers has the lead. Polverari is 2nd. Bouchard, Evans, and Ruggiero complete the top 5.
Bouchard a couple of laps to build up the heat in those Hoosier tires in order for that car to be the flags. He looks the field over. We could get a start this time around. Summers puts the hammer down, and he picks up the lead one more time, taking it away from Bob Polverari as Richie Evans moves up into the 3rd spot, getting around Kenny Bouchard.
Good move by Summers to hold off Bob Polverari. Richie Evans pulled a sharp move. He's up to 3rd. Bouchard is down to 4th. Ruggiero 5th, and Ray Miller is really on the move. He goes to 6th in the Rainbow Farms Forenza.
Marty Redwick also moving up through, as is the only Ford-powered car in the field, the 11 of Mike Stefanik. A brand new car at the fall final at Stafford, out for its 2nd race car. Car number 11 with Mike Stefanik at the wheel. George Summers continues to set the pace. He leads him off of turn 4, will cross the stripe, put 6 laps in the record books as George Summers continues to lead here at Thompson. Bob Polverari runs in the 2nd spot as Reggie Ruggiero looks underneath Kenny Bouchard. Unable to get that spot, he tucks back in. They're single file as Polverari gets squirrely off of turn number 4, opening the door wide for Richie Evans to move on in and set his sights on the rear bumper of George Summers.
Costly move for Bob Polverari, but he's doing a valiant job of fighting back Evans. And look at Polverari come back on the outside, and he will fight back and hold on to that 2nd spot. That's a big surprise as Polverari is really geared up on the outside. But look at Summers has opened up a huge lead here with 8 laps down, 32 to go.
Polverari and Evans was a break for George Summers to give him just a little extra distance on those two. The battle right now seems to be the sharpest, however, for the 4th spot as Kenny Bouchard is holding off a hard-charging Reggie Ruggiero. Ray Miller back in the 6th spot, followed by Bentley Warren, Corky Cookman, and the 0 of Marty Radwick.
Summers continues to lead Marty Radwick in a tight battle here with Corky Cookman as Evans looks back down low. We saw some smoke come out of Polverari's car that time by Summers, who has a 3-car length lead over Bob Polverari and Richie Evans. And you know Summers wants to be careful here not to burn out the car for the end of the race.
He certainly does. I'll tell you, there has to be an awful lot going through the mind in the record book. It's a 40-lap event as Jerry Marquis just brushed the wall momentarily on the front straightaway. But George Summers certainly has to concentrate on what he's doing as well as be somewhat sentimental, I'm sure.
You can just imagine the pressure on George Summers himself and that of his family. And Art Berry, too, the longtime car owner and friend. And I know George's wife, Peggy, must be really nervous right now, along with the entire family, is George. Lap number 13 ticks away. He is in command. Paul Valeri doing a beautiful job in second. Evans is third. Bouchard, Bergerio, Bentley Warren, and the best performance of that car's history is up in the top 6.
Bouchard, but Kenny is now hooked up in that high groove, and it appears as though no matter how deep Reggie wants to go in, Kenny Bouchard is able to pull it off and hold on. Vinnie Green spins any arm as he refires the car and drives off.
Would have been ended up in the wall. Rosati did a beautiful job. Vinnie Green got crossed up, ended up on the grass, and once you hit that grass, there's not much you can do at 135 miles an hour.
15 laps on the scoreboard, continues to set the pace as Bob Polverari holds off a hard-charging Richie Evans for the second spot.
Brian Ross trying to get his way up to the front of the pack. Let's group the top 10 here. It's George Summers, the leader. Bob Polverari runs fifth. Back in sixth spot is Bentley Warren. Seventh is Corky Cookman. Running eighth would be Marty Radwick. Ninth is Mike Stefanik. And back in 10th, Mike McLaughlin with Miller 11th and Brian Ross 12th.
Lead out now as he has about a 6 or 8 car advantage over second place Bob Polverari, who once again shows a puff of smoke coming off of that fourth turn area. That has to be of concern, of course, to Richie Evans, because if it's engine smoke, it's serious concern. If it's tire smoke, that means that Polverari will certainly be in trouble in the latter stages of this race. But George Summers seems to be driving on rails as he is slowly but surely drawing down the curtain on an illustrious 31-year racing career behind the wheel of a modified race car.
A heated battle between Bentley Warren, Corky Cookman, Marty Radwick, and Mike Stefanik as George Summers takes the halfway mark. Evans goes fishing for second spot, can't do it, as Summers continues to open up the lead. There's a tight battle as Corky Cookman begins to backpedal out in turn one. He's caught on the bottom of the racetrack, and the field rumbles by on the outside. Bentley Warren has moved to 6th, 7th is Marty Radwick. Mike Stefanik is 8th in the Ford-powered car, and back tonight is Corky Cookman. Mike McLaughlin sits 10th.
George Summers has led from the start right through the first half, and he now has almost a half a straightaway length on the 7-11 of Polverari and the 61 of Richie Evans. Kenny Bouchard, Reggie Ruggiero, Bentley Warren as Warren gets sideways off of turn 4. Marty Radwick, Mike Stefanik, Corky Cookman, Mike McLaughlin. Brian turn will make it lap 23 for George Summers.
Domination here for George Summers of Upton, Massachusetts. 17 laps to go. Bob Polverari second, Richie Evans third. That's the way it is. Bouchard is now beginning to close on the Polverari-Evans battle in turn 3. Polverari's car is noticeably slowing here, but Evans is unable to get by as Rich Clark and Bob Park will go a lap down. Park, of course, is in the top 5 in the Winston Racing Series Northeast region. He would love to hang in there and pick up those valuable points in this, the last race of the $270,000 Winston Racing Series.
Richie Evans with a little assist to Bob Polverari down the backstretch as Evans looks to be able to move by Polverari one way or another. However, Bob is really hooked up, and he's got that Riverdale Chrysler TC3 clanked to the wall as he comes off of that second turn, as George Summers, seeming to be a man possessed with a win in his last start ever in a modified, has almost a half a straightaway length, in fact exactly a half a straightaway length on the second, third, and fourth place cars.
Up in turn 2 in the water, and
yellow flag comes out as car number 50 for Rich Clark, who spun into the infield in the second turn, now gets underway on his own power.
Another one of the old veterans in racing and one of the greatest drivers ever to strap in behind the wheel of the cars, and a real hard charger from the word go. Leo clear on away with 14 laps to go in today's BFI 40. Bob Polverari, who's suffering with an ill car, is in second spot. Evans is going to have a shot on the inside, and with any luck, the way Polverari has been running, all Evans has lacked has been a groove to go by. It looks like Polverari's car was puffing a little bit of smoke. We don't know whether it's tire smoke or what, but his car doesn't seem to be going as well as it did in the beginning, but maybe the caution is what Polverari needs to get back on. 42 laps of the race, didn't lead again until the end. And he didn't show his full hand until the last 50 laps of that race.
George Summers will have to do it one more time up alongside the 7-Eleven of Bob Pulvereri, Richie Evans, Kenny Bouchard, Reggie Ruggiero. Summers puts the hammer down. The green flag comes out. George Summers once again picks up the lead from that inside groove. Evans scrambles to try to take over second. He's unable to do it as Pulvereri gets the bite. We're right back to where we were before. George Summers stretching it out down the back chute as Marty Radwick spins in through the infield, does not come in contact with anyone or anything. However, starter Dick Brooks puts out the yellow flag. He has to be the sentimental favorite.
Carl Yastrzemski didn't hit a home run in Boston on his retirement day, but George Summers just might do that today.
This would be a grand slam.
He's only got 13 laps to go before he puts one over the fence. Car number 21, Summers and Bob Pulvereri, another sentimental favorite, the four-time Riverside Park champ, on the outside point with the Flemke Raceworks car. Then it is Richie Evans, who has had one of his winningest seasons here at Thompson, wrapping up his third straight championship in 4 seasons. Then Ken Bouchard, who was on the crest of his most successful year ever behind the wheel of a car, looking for bigger.
Little deja vu. We've been here before as George Summers and Bob Pulvereri bring them around. Pulvereri tries to get the jump, but Summers hangs tough, and now he stands on it. The green flag comes out. George Summers does it for about the 4th time this afternoon. He picks up the lead as Kenny Bouchard moves up alongside Richie Evans, and we've got trouble on the main straightaway as Vinnie Green's car spins into the infield up against the tires. He came in contact with the 2X of Jerry Marquis, only to put Green into the infield for the 2nd time this afternoon.
The right rear tire and Vinnie Green's.
Speedway racing at the Thompson International Speedway, the last major event for the 1983 season, and you are here.
Has a bad break on that start. He had just gotten by Evans for the 3rd position of the Ed's Auto Machine number 55, and he had just taken over that 3rd spot by a bumper length when the caution flag 27 down in the BFI 40.
We'll look for a start. George Summers begins to stand on it one more time. The green comes out, and just like clockwork, George Summers leads the pack off the 4th turn. Bob Pulvereri, Richie Evans, Kenny Bouchard, and Reggie Ruggiero all lined up single file into turn 1. Brian Ross making a move underneath Bentley Warren to pick up the 6th spot.
Ross going very well in the Ernie Wilsberg machine. He's cracked the top 10 here. He is up in 7th spot. Trouble off turn 4. Mike McLaughlin and Corky Cookman come together, and McLaughlin did a nice job to gather up that race car. It was completely sideways. 12 laps to go to George Summers, who has a 2-car length lead over Pulvereri.
The field is all stretched out, single file down the backstretch. Richie Evans really putting the pressure now on Bob Pulvereri as Pulvereri tries desperately to reel in the rear bumper of the Art Barry-owned Southern New England egg George Summers trucking car number 21.
Brian Ross goes headhunting underneath car number 44, Reggie Ruggiero, but was unable to make the move by. This time by 10 laps to go for Georgie Summers. He runs wheel low off turn 4, trying to keep the car on the bottom of the racetrack. The pressure must be intense right now for Summers.
The pressure is there. The pulse rate has to be there. An exciting day for this George Summers and his crew and family, as this time around we'll make it 9 laps to go for your leader, Bob Pulvereri. Not about to give George Summers anything, as would any other driver in the rest of the field. They all know him, they love him and respect him, but they also race against him. And George Summers is going to have to win it the hard way if, in fact, he takes home the $2,000 first prize money.
It has been said that all friendships end once you get on the racetrack, and it certainly holds true here. Bob Pulvereri begins to close the gap on Summers with right on his bumper. Evans sits 2 car lengths back, begins to fall back of the leaders as George Kent begins to make his move through traffic here. He sits way out of the top 10.
Brian Ross looks again to the low side of Reggie Ruggiero. He's not going to be able to make it. He drops back in. Bentley Warren, Mike McLaughlin, George Kent, Mike Stefanik, all running single file off turn number 2. 33 laps show on the Winston Racing Series scoreboard as Ross gives Ruggiero a little help down the backstretch. Mike Stefanik in car number 11 drops off the pace. some mechanical difficulty with that brand new race car.
As most of the drivers were on the Chevrolet. George Summers, 5 laps to go. 5 laps left in George Summers' career as he heads him off turn forward. He would like to end those 5 laps on the point, and he is certainly doing that here. Bob Polverari against the fallback as George Summers opens up a lead. Bouchard is 4th. 5th is Ruggiero. 6th is Brian Ross. Back in 7th, Bentley Warren. 8th spot is Mike McLaughlin. George Kent runs in 9th.
Slowly but surely winding down. As a matter of fact, he has less than 2 minutes left to that career as we tick away laps here at Thompson. This time across, he's into his final 3 laps, 37 laps on the scoreboard. George Summers from Upton, Massachusetts, going out in fine fashion as he leads the pack down that long 500-foot back chute here at Thompson. The 2-lap marker is up from starter Dick Brooks. 2 to go for your leader, George Summers. Bob Polverari runs 2nd. Richie Evans is 3rd. Kenny Bouchard 4th. 5th right now is the number 5 as Brian Ross slips underneath Reggie Ruggiero to pick up a spot in the late stages. The white flag waves. This time around, it is George Summers' last lap behind the wheel of a race car. Let's wish him well through turn number 1. George Summers wheels the Art Barry-owned white Chevrolet Cavalier down the backstretch. It is George Summers off of turn 4. The fans come to their feet. They wave their hands. George Summers ends a 31-year racing career by taking down the 40-lap modified feature event here at the World Series of Speedway Racing at the Thompson International Speedway. Ladies and gentlemen, what a way to go. George Summers, who started on the outside pole, drove the Art Barry-owned car number 21 for 40 green flag laps directly to victory lane. And who's there to hand him the checkered flag? None other than son Rick Summers, who did such a good job here this afternoon in the mini modified. Something that is not traditionally done here at Thompson, but is being done this afternoon in honor of the illustrious career of George Summers, the victory lap, his last opportunity to carry a checkered flag around a speedway. And what a day this has been for the veteran from Upton, Massachusetts. Bob Polverari finishing 2nd, Richie Evans 3rd, Kenny Bouchard in for 4th, finishing 5th, Brian Ross. But the story has to be, without a doubt, the man who is now entering the 3rd turn at the Thompson Speedway, coming off of 4 and looking at the start-finish line for the last time. Ladies and gentlemen, George Summers. What a party it will be as Rick Summers stands there readying the champagne for Dad. Rick, I don't know if he's going to appreciate that shower or not, but he's going to get it.
Well, we're down here in Winston Victory Lane, and it's probably the most emotional we've ever seen. George Summers, with tears in his eyes, gets a hug from Art Barry, the car owner, as he takes his last win, as the whole gang is down here. Rick Summers, his son, presented George with the checkered flag as he took the victory lap, and George Summers is absolutely in tears. He's unhooking the helmet and the radio gear as he takes down the win in the BFI 40 here today, and what a way to go out. The Hollywood Riders couldn't have done it better. Ladies and gentlemen, he's now climbing from the race car. Let's hear it for George Summers. And his son Ricky is really getting George here. It was a champagne shower. George Summers, Art Barry, and Peggy Summers in Victory Lane in a very emotional place to be right now. We'll let George take a couple of minutes to compose himself as took his last victory lap right there. The car worked super all day long, and he had a hold off Bob Polverari over the final few restarts, and Richie Evans, of course, with Ken Bouchard, three of the hottest race car drivers in modified racing, and George Summers. Couldn't have done it better. The Hollywood writers will have to do something to come up with this one. As Upton, Massachusetts is George Summers, one of the finest gentlemen you'll ever meet in the sport of racing, takes a well-deserved swig of champagne as he takes down the win. Whole gang with Bob Regis from Manchester Royal Heat, congratulating George Summers on perhaps his biggest career win ever, doing it in fine style on the last race he will compete in. George Summers of Upton, Massachusetts, taking the win in Victory Lane. The pictures being taken now as Summers becomes the winner. A multitude of photographers in Victory Lane taking pictures on George Summers' win here today. George, this one meant a whole lot to you.
Thank you. Well, you don't know how much it meant to me. I can't even talk, really. Those are happy tears. Yeah, I just say, what a way to go out.
Well, George, I talked to you earlier in the day, and you were kind of nervous before the afternoon. You really wanted to win this badly. You led all 40 laps, and you opened up a real large lead, and it was your race all the way. And we certainly wish you the best of luck, and we thank you very much for 31 great years of racing. I've always been a big fan of yours, George, and I know all the people here in the grandstands feel the same way, and we wish you the best of luck. And you really did a beautiful job today, and I'm sure you have a lot of people to thank for this effort.
Well, you know, I won Oxford Plains here 2 or 3 weeks ago. I wanted to win so bad for Art Barry because he's built me such a fine car. And, you know, we've been so close so many times to winning. And when we won that race up to Maine, I said, oh, if that only could have been my last one. And to come here today and to win, it really, I can't say how happy I am. That put the frosting on the cake, I guess.
Well, George, congratulations. And I know your son Ricky did a super job today in the mini stock race. And I know with him in the future for the Summers Racing family, there'll always be a name up in the winner's circle.
Well, you know, I know Ricky was really disappointed because when he came in today, he got out of the car, and I could tell he was disappointed. He said, damn, Dad, I wanted to win that race so bad. He said, I know that you're going to win today, and I wanted to win and have both of us the last day that we ran, that we both won.
Well, George Summers, you did it, and you did it in fine style. And Dick Brooks, the flagman whose flag George Summers would like to present.
George, I got to use this flag for 2 more races. After this flag is going to be yours. I've used this a long time.
Brooksy, I have a trophy room at home that I've got over 100 trophies in the room, and I'll be so happy to put that flag up there and say it came from Brooks. And I tell anybody that's in racing that my house is open to anybody that wants to come, and I have 31 years of great memories, and I have one room that I have over 100 trophies in, and anybody is welcome to come and view it.
Well, George Summers of Upton, Mass, taking down the win, and a beautiful job of driving for George Summers. Art Barry, we'd like to get him in here. He's the man that put it all together today. Arthur, some thoughts?
Well, it's just going to be hard to say anything, really.
The car worked well, I'm sure, and the sponsors, Southern New England Eggs, and the car was just super, and you and the whole crew have just done an outstanding job all year long putting the car together for George Summers, and I know it's going to be a little different next year when we won't see George Summers behind the wheel of the number 21, but it's certainly, this is the way to go out in style for George.
It's going to be a hard seat to fill.
Well, congratulations, Art Barry, on your win here today, and George Summers of Upton, Massachusetts, the winner in the final race of his career. George?
Oh, you don't know how happy I am. It couldn't have been any nicer. I think the good Lord, my wife has prayed so much that I believe the good Lord answered her prayers.
Well, congratulations, George, and let's hear it one more time for one of the greatest gentlemen in racing, George Summers of Upton, Massachusetts, taking the win in the modified race.